Hi, everybody. I'm Alex Brooker, and welcome to this week's episode of the Travel Tech Podcast. This week's guest is Kameron Bertine, who's the co-founder, CEO of Movmo. They are tackling the problem of identity management sitting between AI agents, consumers, so AI or human, booking flights or hotels via websites, direct with airlines, direct with hotels, and taking on one of the probably hardest challenges in consumer travel booking. This episode is brought to you by Airside Labs. That's airsidelabs.com. And please keep the feedback coming. Send as much as you like. And also recommendations for who I should have on. If you've got a story to tell between travel, aviation, and AI, then I would love to hear from you. I really hope you enjoy this content. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And yeah, over to the conversation. So, hey, Kameron, welcome to the Travel Tech Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I know you've seen a few previous episodes, so you kind of know what to expect. So I think there'll be no surprises, and we're going to have a great conversation. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here.
So yeah, I mean, let's sort of maybe we could start with the problem that you saw. Like before the business, I'd love to learn and talk about your startup and how things are going. But maybe we could start like before you started that company. You know, what was the problem that you spotted, or what happened? What happened that gave you this, this desire, this mission? You know.
Yeah, no, great question. Yeah, so I come from a product design background, and prior to that, I was working in ERP systems from small, medium-sized businesses to Fortune 10. So when I was working in that industry, I was consistently running into legacy issues. And then when I switched over to UI UX and stuff to really hone in on things that I cared about a lot, which is really product and efficiency, I continued to grow in that profession. So about 4 years ago, my wife and baby and I were traveling. And when we went through the booking process and we were flying from Ecuador to Spain, I won't say the airline, the booking experience was quite awful. And we ended up going to the airport. I thought bags were included. They weren't included. So I ended up having to fork over, more money at the airport. So not only was it a bad booking experience, but now here I am at the airport having to spend more money. And we were fortunate enough, I worked remotely to travel around Europe for a few months. And while we were traveling, I was, rebooking with different airlines and running into different issues. And there was no consistency across any of it, right? The airline websites were riddled with bugs. I was having to re-enter our information time and time again, different languages, different currency. And it was quite frustrating. So I ended up, talking with a friend who's now an advisor and said, hey, I don't think you have an idea of like how difficult this industry is to work in. I think you should kind of pause on this idea. But he calls me a masochist. He's, and I'm like, well, I guess I am. I don't know. I like to challenge myself and continue to try to, face big problems and try to solve big problems. So about a year and a half later, I ended up watching my wife use Shopify ShopPay. And I was just, blown away how easily it captured her as a user, going through a flow and purchasing whatever it was for the family. And that was when kind of like a light bulb moment went off, where I said to myself, like, this is it. I need to create something like Shopify ShopPay, but for travel, where it's not such a heavy lift to implement this, having come from an ERP background where by the time we would go live with whatever, version it was, still now at that point, years away. It's kind of the same story here in aviation, right? With NDC and stuff. So I was like, it needs to be a low lift, kind of a plug and play integration. And that set me on the journey to where we are today with Movmo.
And what was it about that ShopPay experience or the Shopify experience that so captured your imagination?
Yeah, my wife isn't very tech savvy, and how easily it captured her to go through the process of creating her account when she really probably didn't realize that she was actually creating her account, and like filling out everything, like payment, shipping, billing information. And then when she revisited, how easily it captured her again to go through that booking flow and purchase whatever product, right? It was almost as seamless as like essentially one click, which is what we're going for as well. So I was really impressed with watching her experience it. And then I experienced it for myself and, dove into more research and was just really blown away.
I mean, I love the vision. And so how are you tackling it? Because I think Airline websites are complicated. There's like a bunch of decisions to be made about what to do and what the user wants. How have you tackled some of that complexity? And maybe you could introduce your startup and where you fit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, great question. Yeah, so the way that we wanted to build this product was something that was really mature, and we were really thinking through exactly how we can do the integrations so that it is an easy lift for airlines. And also really understanding and listening to airlines in the industry about how they think, what keeps them up at night. So one of those things that they really care about is really owning the customer relationship or being the merchant of record, right? So we wanted to do something where it was almost like a layer that sit on top as an identity layer, as well as kind of a checkout layer, not necessarily replacing what airlines have. So the idea is that, as you're going through a booking flow, or even actually before that, we have an identity use case. So as soon as you land on an airline's website, the idea is that you can give consent to that airline to let them know, hey, I'm now on your website. This is what I care about. I'm going to share this information with you so you can start personalize the offerings to me as soon as I land on, from search offers to orders. So that flows nicely into the checkout piece where you can build on top of it and not necessarily replace what they have, but give them something where it gives them that familiar booking experience every time, like a Shopify ShopPay, or from like a payments perspective, Stripe Link or Klarna or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of the way that we designed it, where we don't want a lot of friction on the sales side. We don't want a lot of friction on the implementation side. We want to try to talk to the least amount of people as we can to get this product live on an airline's website or within their mobile app to really drive more direct bookings.
I see. And so if we take that analogy of Stripe Link or Klarna, people will be familiar with that as consumers when you're going through shopping. When it comes to making that payment, it's like, okay, I'm going to go for buy now, pay in installments with Klarna, or I'm going to do a Stripe Link. And so the service that they are providing is the data, the financial data, the payment data, the card that the consumer has trusted with Stripe Link, and the merchant has integrated that as a layer. So is that sort of a fair description of how your business would work?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're trying to build on those habits that people already have in place, right? Rather than reinvent the wheel. So most people, I would say, are familiar with, at least within the US and probably Europe as well, familiar with a Shopify ShopPay. And then in Latin America and other countries have like their version of it, right? And then Europe, of course, with Klarna, America with Stripe Link. So we strongly believe by building on that habit, our conversion rates will be significantly higher than what is currently out there.
Yeah, I mean, just in preparing sort of to talk to you about this, I did a little bit of research. The cart abandonment rate that was published a few years ago is, I had no idea it was that high. It was like 89% or something for airline carts, and then it was like only sort of 79 sort of across all of travel. But I thought that was really shocking, right? Or is that not is that not high? Is it the same in other industries? I don't know. What's your view?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, for me, it's really shocking. E-commerce is in the 70s. Airlines is around 89%. And then when you look at ferries, I believe are, from what my research says, is ferries are the highest. It's around like 90, 91, 92% or something like that. So a lot of people argue like the reasons for that, right? Like, oh, people are just searching for the cheapest price and then they abandon. And yeah, I think that is one of the reasons. I think payment is one of it. I think just difficulty going through the flow. So for example, my father's in his 60s, his wife is in their 60s as well. They're not very tech savvy and they're going through a booking flow. They don't have an account, or even if they do have an account, it's not very apparent to them that they can log in, right? Until they get to the checkout page, or maybe they're too nervous to log in because they'll get booted out or lose the price. So it takes them, more than the time limit to go through to get to the checkout page, and then they end up losing the price. So this happened to them recently, where it took them, probably over the 20 or 30-minute time limit. They got to the checkout page, and then they went to go click pay, and it said, "Oops, like this offer isn't available anymore." And they're like, "We just been dealing with this for like 40 minutes, and it's completely frustrating." So then they end up calling, right, something that they're familiar with, and they end up calling and going through that booking flow, which ends up being more time consuming. So I think there's a lot of different reasons for it. And then now you see it with agentic booking, right? Where the look to book ratio is going up, and people are saying, oh, it's because people are having agents go and run these searches and try to find the cheapest price, which is quite true. But still, at the end of the day, there's no kind of trusted transactional layer that the agents will be able to book against, and then something that people feel comfortable to book against. Like, if the experience is different every time, then they're like, okay, well, like, I don't know. This website is kind of buggy and there's like 20 steps to go through to book this. And then now it like gives me an error, like it happens to me even in Ecuador, like trying to fly to the States, and it gives me an error trying to click payment, no matter which device I'm on, no matter which credit card I use, no matter whatever it is. It's just these sites are still riddled with so many issues, and we're really trying to solve that.
So just before, I do want to get on to like AI and agentic stuff, because I think that's kind of really exciting and disruptive in a good way and potentially bad way. But before we get onto that, I wanted to come back to that. You mentioned your own experience and then your parents' experience. But what have other customers or users said to you as you've got started and I guess gone through discovery phase and done a bunch of interviews? What have other people been saying about this problem?
Yeah, no, people are definitely frustrated with the problem, and I think a lot of people end up resorting to an OTA because an OTA can give them all of the offerings within one one ID, right? And it gives them like a modern booking experience. So it's kind of all over the place in terms of our research and around, who ends up booking where. We might think like going into the research, okay, we're going to see a majority of, 18 to 25-year-olds using OTAs, but that might not necessarily be the case. It's really kind of very broad. So yeah, hopefully that kind of answers your question. But I would say that in general, like people are quite frustrated with the booking experience as a whole, and that's why they end up using some sort of OTA in place. We can see that not agentic booking, but we can see that with ShopPay, with the people that have a ShopPay profile, there's like a 50% conversion lift versus like a guest checkout. So just imagine that related to like someone booking on an airline's website that they've never booked with, right? Like maybe someone that has a loyalty account and someone that has guest checkout. Like I'm curious as an industry, there's no data around that, but I'm just curious as an industry whole, like what those conversion rate look like. How do they compare? So yeah, we're hoping that we can give this universal agnostic layer that just helps the travelers feel confident in booking and happy and want to come back and continue to purchase. And for the airline side, like cool, increase loyalty, increase engagement, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's honestly pretty broad. Like even when we did our research, we thought, okay, like people 25 to like 35, 40 are gonna like love what we're doing, right? And then people like 55, 60 plus are like maybe not gonna fully grasp it, right? But then we have these conversations and they're like, oh no, I love this, like this is great, this is super easy, that are in like their 60s. So and you're also seeing that with agentic booking. Like I would say most people or just the use of AI, like most people didn't think that senior citizens would be using AI as much as they are, but they're actually like one of the biggest adopters of it, which is pretty cool.
Are they? Are they really?
Yeah.
I've not heard that. That's super interesting. Yeah. Where's sort of that market information sort of come from? That's super interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to send it to you, but I found it like a few weeks back where they were talking about like how senior citizens were like using it for travel. It just makes it easier for them to kind of discover or plan their trip itinerary, right? Like ChatGPT, I'm in, Lisbon or Portugal, and then Portugal or whatever it may be, like help me kind of figure out like what would be the most efficient way of like traveling through the city and like what are the things that I should see, right? It makes it significantly easier for them, as most people. Yeah.
Let's go back to like your vision for that checkout flow with Movmo embedded in. What is that? Could you describe that perfect checkout flow?
Of course. Yeah. So we're not trying to replace what airlines already have, unless we do like kind of a white label, which is one of our other use cases. But essentially, as a traveler, when you land on an airline's website or within their mobile app, you search for your flight or flights, you select your class of fare, and then that's where we introduce our button. So it says Express Checkout with Movmo. The user still has the ability to go through like, I guess, checkout or, go through like the existing flow. But if they click our express checkout button, they land into our interface while still on the airline's domain, where they can pull in their profile or quickly sign up with a one-time passcode. And then once they successfully book, then all of their existing passengers, loyalty, payment, travel preferences are all encompassing within that profile. And then they can carry that to any other like partner, right, that we've embedded our technology with. So let's say if you book with American, and then you're flying from let's say Europe to the States, and then a few weeks later you're flying to Africa with a different airline. As long as we've embedded our technology, you can tap into that and not have to like re-enter your passport information, all of your passengers. And the goal really is to get to like that one-click booking experience where it's not like, we're okay, what seat do I want? Or like, I have a gluten intolerance or whatever it may be. Like, we can start choosing that for you. So it takes out all the second guessing.
Yeah. I mean, having to re-enter your passport number, answer more questions about your date of birth out loud. A few episodes ago, we had the founder of Polygraph AI, and he was telling a story about that he was at the gate surrounded by people. They're asking him for his personal data, and he's like answering at the top of his voice, trying to be quiet, but he couldn't be heard, and anyone could just listen and hear his data, or typing it into the in-flight entertainment system to confirm that you're there, and having to type in your date of birth, and anyone can see you do that. So I think I love the concept of let's put PII, personally identifiable information. I feel like it's toxic. It needs to be contained. You don't want it everywhere. Yeah. It needs to be managed very carefully. And I love the concept, love the vision. How are things going for you? How long have you been? We hadn't actually done that part yet. Like, how long's the business been going, and how's it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's going great. We started back in June of 24 as well. We established a company. We started doing a lot of research and user testing that year. And then in 25, we started like building out the product while still, at that time working full time, and supporting our families and stuff. And then we said, okay, cool, let's go to market with this. I think we're ready in September of 25. So we went to FTE/Apex in Long Beach. That was our first conference. Went in totally blind, like don't know anyone in the industry really, and was just like, let's just figure out how it goes and talk to as many people as we can. And we came back with a lot of conviction that we were onto something really special. And one little tip that I'll give to people that we kind of figured out on day 2 was there was literally a physical sales funnel. And what I mean by that is, instead of us running around and like trying to flag people down, like, oh, you're Japan Airlines on your badge, like who are you? Like who's here on your team or whatever. What we ended up doing, because we don't know anyone, is everyone had to go up and down these escalators. And we were like, this is literally like a sales funnel, So we just, on the second day, we started hanging out by the escalators, because all the CEOs, like everyone was passing by, and we would recognize them, after like a day or two. So then we just started like flagging them down that way, and it actually worked extremely well. So sorry to go on a little tangent there, but a little tip for anyone. Yeah,
got to get their attention, man. That's it. That is innovation. Getting in the right place and making some eye contact, saying hi, introducing yourself, and getting that attention.
But yeah, we were. I mean, any CEO, like even Campbell Wilson was there, and he was I think he's resonating from Air India, but he was one of the main speakers at the conference, and he was sitting at the table next to us, along with the CEO of Breeze, and we were like, we're just gonna go talk to these guys, like, hey, excuse me, I know you're like midway through a bite, but how's it going, like, and yeah, I mean, that's just what you have to do. You just have to be kind of ballsy, and I don't mind doing it. It doesn't matter to me.
No, I love it.
But obviously being respectful, right? So, yeah.
Being respectful, I think maybe we could get this will go on a YouTube short, but like it's sales hustle. I used to know sales guys who would stay in the same hotels that they knew their prospect was staying in, just so they could sit in the lobby, get up super early, be at breakfast. Oh,
that's smart.
Are you here as well? Oh, well, come and have breakfast. Or you're just in the lobby and they're walking past, and so being available, and up to sitting in a car park all day outside their office, couldn't get a meeting with them, but literally parked in the car park all day.
Oh, wow.
So when they left at the end of the day, they were just, walking past. Oh, hey, happened to bump into you, just outside your office. It's
No way.
You got the deal. You closed it, man. That's it. That's how you get it done.
No way. I might have to do that one. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of weird or kind of creepy.
Yeah. It's
but
borderline. Well, I mean, I think, but the borderline creepy. But if it's a conference hotel, I think that's okay. Making yourself available to have a serendipitous coffee meeting.
Right. Yeah. Serendipitous. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's going good. Yeah. We, like I said, we came in this industry with absolutely zero contacts. And since then we've signed NDAs with Sabre, Amadeus Outpace, KIU System Solutions. And we sent our first proposal to an airline after meeting with them in February. We sent our proposal to them in April. So these sales cycles typically take like 12 to 24 months, sometimes like 36 months. So I think the fact that we were able to get like a proposal across in 2 months is shows that we're onto something. We weren't able to close it. The reason why is because they're actually in the process of upgrading their PSS right now, so they're pretty swamped. But we'll revisit like in a month or two with them to hopefully see if we can get them back on board. But I still think it was, we've made good progress considering where we started. And then one last thing is we're accepted into, well, not accepted, I should say, but we I guess I should say accepted, but we were accepted as part of a selection day for an accelerator called Plug and Play. So in about 7 days on August 20th, we'll be having our pre-recorded pitch presented to a bunch of their partners. So we'll see how that goes.
That's super cool. I love it. Yeah. And I love the hustle. I wanted to kind of go back and ask you a little bit about your, with your product design hat on and that sort of product view and perhaps more formal or corporate way of doing product management. You're now AI first startup, innovating with sort of new user experience kind of ideas. What's your view on that legacy plumbing of the aviation industry? You mentioned NDC and there's GDS and there's these other bits of lumpy infrastructure and sort of old school APIs that are sort of out there. What's been your take on that sort of? Was it a clash, or is it that you can mesh them together? What's your take on the difference there?
Yeah, I mean, from our product side, like we designed it so we can work with any of them. We don't want to be like, we didn't want to create a product that was like a rip and replace, right? Like I came from that with ERP systems, and I saw how much of a headache that was. So we wanted to do it in a way where we could work with any of these legacy systems, even if this industry is extremely slow. It doesn't affect us in any way. So that's the way we wanted to design it. But I would say these legacy systems also weren't built to persist like recognized identity across a shopping session. So I feel like the way that we designed it, we can certainly do that, right? With all the constraints that there are out there. So yeah, I'm confident with the systems as things evolve, whether it's in DC or we're working with whatever's out there currently. Like we'll be fine either way. I think it's going to be really interesting with the agentic stuff too. How like people will book and feel comfortable booking, and where Google and these other companies like Layla and all this stuff kind of fits into this. Yeah, I think it's an interesting time, and I think our timing is right.
Well, maybe this is the right moment to start talking about AI and agentic bookings. The news is just out about Layla and a sort of acquisition there from Expedia. But what I would say is also there's some news about Google and Gemini and how they might dip a toe in or jump in with both feet in terms of booking flow. There's also been some news recently around agentic search, sort of programmatically sucking down tens of thousands of combinations of routes and tickets and airline sort of the back end systems kind of struggling to cope with that search volume. So where should we start with this kind of all this change and these new things going on? How do you see identity fitting into all of that?
Yeah, I think identity, what we're creating at Movmo fits into all of it because these agents need a trusted transactional layer, and by us, the way that we've created this product, it is something that they can transact against, and it's something that a user can call via MCP layer. So we've already like built this use case. We've already demoed it with an airline that we sent our proposal to. But I think where things are going, I think it's exciting, but at the same time, like airline executives aren't talking about it. It's these airline executives. It's they care more about other things, right? They care more about, it would be like planes and operations and a variety of other different things, and AI. For example, like agentic booking or something is like way down on the list. I don't remember the exact percent, but it's under like 5%. It's extremely low. And I think that's tells you a little bit about the industry. And then I would also say that travelers are comfortable with, and I watched and listened to one of your recent podcasts on this, but travelers also aren't there yet in terms of like trusting AI to book them a ticket, right? It doesn't matter if it's $100 ticket or a $5,000 ticket, like actually having it go through and say, hey, book my ticket. Like, will we be there in 2 or 3 years? I believe so. Maybe a little bit longer, but I just don't think we're there today. So I think it's a little bit of these various things that are going on. And you have companies that are doing these itineraries, which is great and all, but I certainly want to compete with Google on an itinerary building and then being able to like book through that. Like that's not the game that I want to play. Like I don't want to have to compete with Google on that. So I think Google is doing it the best. Obviously Layla, congrats to them, hats off to them. But Google is doing it very slowly and very methodically, and I think they're going to be the winners out of all of this. It's the same thing with Gemini. Like they weren't the first; they kind of like took a different angle, a different route to it. And I think by them pairing it with all of their other existing products, like they're the force to be reckoned with, and for sure they're going to come out on top. But still, I think even the pace that Google's going kind of shows where things are. Like I think if Google was like, no, we want people to like book flights today and hotels today, like, and all of this, and like they would have done that like a year or two ago. Like they could have done it, and just my opinion, I don't know anyone at Google that's working on this except having conversation with James Byers over at Google, but I honestly think they could have done it sooner. So that gives a little bit of like my opinion on what's going on in the industry. I think AI will adopt a bit faster on the B2B side, meaning like improving operations, safety, security, things like that. But in terms of like consumer facing, like the booking side where we live and what we care about, I think it's going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, I tend to agree. In terms of booking, lots of stuff to improve on the operational side. But yeah, on the booking side, so do you see, who would you sell to then? As AI agents become more and more useful, more and more productive, and people get a little bit more confident with them, is your service a custom connector into Claude Cowork or a custom MCP server connection into ChatGPT, and so it becomes a tool. So you're an identity. I'll stop talking and let you say it. But am I heading in the right direction?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. So I mean, the way that we're doing it, because we're directly integrating with the airline's tech stack. When the user calls with that MCP layer through, for example, Claude, like they're able to like directly link those two and talk to each other to like successfully complete that booking, leveraging our express checkout or a white label checkout using their identity or like Movmo profile, whatever language you want to use. So yeah, that's kind of how we work, where it's like we try to like think of ourselves as an additional, potentially down the road, an additional distribution route for these airlines, where people could not only go and book successfully using their app or go on their website, but could make a call through Claude. And then going beyond that, as like offers and orders and all of these things evolve. Same thing with for example, if they were running a campaign or we were running a campaign in parallel to them through, let's say, Instagram. Hey, Alex, we know that you love to vacation in Spain in June, and we know that you love Mallorca or whatever it may be, and they're going to like hyper personalize, send you that ad that's tailored to you, where they think the most likelihood that you're going to actually convert. And then on click, like you could leverage your Movmo identity or Movmo profile to be able to complete that booking within like a click. So that's like another like futuristic thing we've designed our product to be able to work in that. But again, I just don't know if necessarily like airlines are there yet. I think we're seeing that with TikTok, right? Like with TikTok, they're running ads. You can actually click it and book within the TikTok world, which is really cool. So it is going there. It is moving in that direction, but airlines are a bit slower. So we're hoping that we can like get them up to speed and help them essentially compete with these OTAs.
Yeah, super interesting. I think ads are one thing in TikTok. We had a previous episode with the founder of Boop AI, which was sort of a social
cool.
media based, like itinerary builder. And so I love that concept of you can initiate a booking based on when you see the inspiration, when you see the beautiful picture or the video or whatever it was that inspires you to think, oh, I'd like to see if I can visit that place, instead of having to come out of that app, go into a web browser, and then start doing a search is extremely jarring. So I mean, I totally agree with you. That's probably the way it's going to go. But what from the airline's perspective? You mentioned kind of right at the beginning when we started talking, they love to they are the merchant of record. They've got your booking. They've got data about you. They have requirements for checking things as part of border control. There are links between the airlines and government agencies, things like that. How does your solution sort of mesh with some of the requirements that an airline might have for that, as well as perhaps their loyalty program?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so from the merchant of record perspective, we integrate with all of their payment solutions. So if they're, whatever the user sees is going to be whatever the airline offers. So if you go to airline A and airline A has, just credit card form, then we would just present a credit card form to them. In terms of loyalty, we allow one-click loyalty that directly integrates with what the airline has in place. If someone already has loyalty, then they can link the two, give consent to us to say, hey, I want to, give consent to Movmo to link these two accounts so I can continue building loyalty. In terms of being able to apply that loyalty, that's something that we have within the roadmap, but we don't have it actually built yet. But obviously, airlines care deeply about that. In terms of governance, everything that we do, because this is extremely regulated industry, is ensuring that we have everything in place to not only protect the traveler, right, the consumer, but to also protect the airline and then obviously protect ourselves. So we always put that first. We always want to make sure that we follow best practices. The last thing that we want is like a lawsuit or the airline or anyone to have like any sort of lawsuit. So we always ensure that we're like, we want to be bold, we want to be visionary, but we also want to be like conservative where we need to be conservative.
And what's the commercial model? How do you make money? If it's not too. I mean, I've been taught it's vulgar to talk about money. That's what I've been taught as a Brit. But this is commercial.
I think
people want to know, so we have to ask it. I have to ask it.
Yeah, unless you're a kid, kids always ask. You're like, "How much money do you make?" And you're like, "Is that?" I used to do it too as a kid. I mean, the way that we're looking at commercializing it, at least right now, is doing a transaction fee. So we have ideas on what that transaction fee might be. I don't want to give a number because it could be lower or higher that depending on the airline. But I think the real thing that we're looking for is, what is the incremental value that we can add to the airline and to the revenue, right? So if we can prove like a 10% uplift or whatever it may be, or reducing their abandoned cart rate from like industry highs of 89% down to like 80 or 85, like that's a huge win for them. And we can do that in a variety of different ways, right? One is just the identity piece, creating the personalization, the one-click, essentially checkout where we're already pre-selecting all the ancillaries and stuff for them. Another way is, improving payments by offering more payments that people have come to expect. Like if I'm an American, I want to see Google or I want to see Apple or I want to see PayPal. Like no matter which airline I'm flying with, no matter where I am in the world. So hopefully, that kind of answers your question a little bit, but
no, it does. And in terms of these, we talked about the ability, or not ability, we talked about the willingness of a consumer to click book from within an AI chatbot or something like that. And I'm not quite ready to do that. But then, because I'm super technical, like I know too much. I know too much about how the technology works, maybe, and kind of with the other hat on, make part of my living is testing them and trying to uncover all the issues. But how do you plan to win over those early adopters and earn their trust so that they're willing to give you their personal data, the date of birth and passport number, and because those numbers are precious commodities, aren't they? So, what's your approach to earning the trust, building trust with those early adopters?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so on like the technical side, my co-founder is the CTO, and he ensures that everything from like a data protection standpoint is at like the highest standards. He's worked in backend infrastructure at enterprise level for 10 plus years. So I feel very confident with him and then as our advisors as well that we can certainly do this. But how do we win over these early adopters is, on like the agentic side is the way that we're approaching it is through our existing products. So for example, through the express checkout or through white label, where we start to build up slowly, like as a stepping stone, the user base, the traveler base that trusts this product. So by the time, let's say year 2, year 3, that we want to then release like agentic booking on our domain, where as a traveler you could still book directly with the airline, but using like our MCP and stuff. Then at that point we'll have like very loyal base to us, and that's kind of like our approach to it. We could launch agentic booking today. Like it's really not that difficult to do. I think a lot of people might think it's that difficult to do. Like it's not that hard. We've already been playing around with it, and one of our advisors is like, "Don't do it. You're going to burn a lot of tokens and like a lot of cash." So I just don't think the timing's right. So, and our approach is more of like strategic 2 to 3 year vision to get to that point and like build up the trust with the airlines, build up the network, right, of airlines, and hopefully we can do it pretty quickly by having our kind of like plug and play solution. And then, with that, continue to build up the brand, the awareness around the brand, the trust. So when we get to year 2, year 3, like we're dominant within like maybe a particular region, or with like a particular, airline size or and hopefully at that point we've already scaled beyond airlines. Like our goal is to go to other ecosystems, right? Like hotels, rail, cruise, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely bigger scope, isn't there? Managing identity data at scale is a major challenge, exciting mountain to climb, and so solving it in one market seems like a solid plan before going wider. And is that in terms of your customers then, in terms of the people who you'd sell to first? It's the airlines is the number one target, or are there other people you're thinking about right now?
Yeah, I would say hotels as well. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to find our wedge, right? So if a hotel comes to us and says, "Hey," like, or especially if it's a brand like Accor or Marriott, whoever it may be, great. Like if hotels is where we get the most traction, then cool. If it ends up being airlines and low cost carriers or full service, great. We'll just double down on wherever we get that traction. So right now we're trying to keep an open mind, and even wherever that market may be, that region. So if it's Latam, if it's Asia, if it's Europe, great. So yeah, trying to be open with it.
Yeah, that's cool. And now I just wanted to. It's a slight gear change, but I wanted to ask you, as somebody who's new to the aviation travel sort of market, what's been the biggest surprise? Something you didn't expect that you've learned on this journey so far?
Yeah, I would say really how long sales cycles are. I had a little business in the back where I was importing to the States chocolate from Ecuador, and within like less than a year, I had the chocolate in 80 plus stores throughout California, and a lot of those grocery stores, and a nationwide distributor. And
Wow.
a lot of the grocery stores that we had were some of the best grocery stores in the US, including Airline, which is like literally the best grocery store you could ever go to, at least in the US. And so I know that I can sell,
That's the one
And
with
then
the
when I
really
came into this,
fancy stuff, isn't it?
yeah, super fancy, like $20 smoothie, totally worth it. But yeah, $20 smoothie. And yeah, you'll see like famous people in there, like Serge from, System of a Down. I saw him in there. Like, I was like, hey, Serge, like, I'm a fan of you. I like you a lot. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, selling chocolate, He's like, cool. Let me grab my sub and I'll buy some chocolate from you. Like, all right, So yeah, you see like, yeah, it's a great place. But so I know that I can sell, and coming in this industry, I was like, oh, give it like 6 months and we'll get an airline.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, granted, we're, September to now August, so almost a year in, but, we still have made a lot of traction, and I feel confident. Hopefully by the end of the year, early next year, we'll have some sort of contract in place. But I would say that that's one of the biggest things, is that. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's this industry or what, or just people maybe today, but, you have some people that are really great, and are like, you'll have one conversation with them and they're super cool. And like, for example, Ann Cedarhall, who was on your show as well, she's amazing. And like, one conversation with her, she's like, what can I do to help you? It's like, I know this industry. I love what you're doing. It's like, I'll introduce you to this person. I'll introduce you to that person. I'll introduce you to this person. And then you'll have another conversation with someone, and they'll be like, they'll make all these promises, and they just won't follow through. No matter if I do 5 more touch points in LinkedIn, text, email, it's like, if you can't help me, or you don't want to help me, like, just tell me, like, it's fine, So I think one of the things I got to learn is like, I got to be more direct, like just to the point, almost like a New Yorker, like, no BS, like, just tell me, like, do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you want to move forward? Do you not want to move forward? And I feel like you'll save a lot of time. So I would say those are some of the 2 biggest things that I've learned in this industry.
Yeah, you need a hopefully it's a quick yes, but a quick no, like
Is
a
even
quick
better.
is even better, right? Because you just move on. The long no is the worst possible of the four things. So maybe they're a fan of the podcast. If you're listening, whoever you are, get back to Kameron and let
just
me know.
tell me yes or no. Don't leave me hanging. And I would say another thing too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say another thing too that was kind of like shocking to us was the first conference we went to. Some of these airlines were winning awards for like NPS scores that were extremely low. And we were sitting in the conference, and my co-founder and I were like, wait, they're getting an award, and the award was like something super low, like a 35 or something. And we were like, wait, what? We were looking at each other, and I was like, isn't it NPS score out of like 100? Like what's going on here? And and I had to like look, I had to like double take, and I was like, let me just look up on my phone real quick. And I was just shocked, like how low the standards are and how far behind the industry is technologically. Like we had kind of an idea, but like going to the first conference was just a real eye opener to us. So that again made us feel, I would say, even better about like what we're doing, where we're like, we know with the product that we're doing, we can boost their NPS scores, which we care about, and we know that they're constrained with legacy technology, but we can still put a beautiful product, like a layer on top of it, that like gets them that modern airline retailing experience, like that, not like a year-long project and hundreds of thousands of dollars, like building out a team, or hiring a consulting company or whatever. So we just felt even better about it, like when we were leaving there.
And I think if the NPS scores were 70, 80, 90, then there's less of a problem to solve, right? That's your opportunity right there. Is they're getting 35, help them make it better. And that sounds fantastic. So in terms of people maybe wanting to get in touch with you or reach out to you, are you raising money at the moment, or are you mentioned the pitch competition coming up, but how can people reach out to you and
I mean, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always on there, and always willing to accept invitations and chat with people on there, and then we can always have another call. And right now we're in our pre-seed round. So we started our pre-seed round in December of last year. I didn't put a lot of emphasis on it. We closed a little bit of money earlier this year to kind of pay for some travel and stuff. And then about 2 months ago, I was like, okay, I actually should try to close this round and not let it just go on forever. So we made a lot of progress in the last like month or so. Feeling really confident, especially, with some of the advisors that we have behind us. We have Alex Munns, who's the CEO and founder of Flyer. We have the former CTO and CPO, Cole Wrightson. He was also at Flyer. Swaney, he was one of the founders and CFO at Play Airlines, just to name a few. So I feel like if we have those people backing us up, it really shows that we're onto something. Our round is open right now. We're hoping that we get into this accelerator and that we can close it in the next few months and get accepted to the accelerator. The idea is that, we go in, they present us to their partners, and hopefully we're solving a true pain point that they have, that they feel like, we can help them solve. And then we come out and hopefully we can close the round and also come out with a contract. So we'll see how it goes. But exciting times. Never a dull moment with the startup.
No, I absolutely love it. And perhaps, in a year's time, you could come back on and let us know how you're getting on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, always happy to go on and give you guys an update. But yeah, follow me on LinkedIn. You can always see like kind of traction and what's going on there and our story and kind of the way that we think and where our head's at. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I wish you all the very best and, all the success in business. And thanks so much for coming on. It's been so interesting to meet you and learn about your business and your background and the problem you're trying to solve. It sounds like an absolute, fantastic opportunity.
Thank you. No, it's been a pleasure. And thank you so much for reaching out and offering me to come on. This has been really nice. Thanks, Alex.
Hey, man. You're welcome. It's fun.
Thank you.